Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome, fight fans, fans of just life in general. We have a very special show here tonight. Very, very special show. I think people will learn a number of great things just from us going through this experience. And hey, we're going to learn some things as well. So, Joshua here, 86 Boxing. Want to introduce my colleagues there. You know him as Papi Choon. Yayo, what's going on with you?
You already know, heavy on the Poppy, light on the Yayo. Y'all didn't know, but your boy does like to read. Library's extensive, but we're going to get into it today.
Indeed, indeed. Then, of course, Tim representing Skywalker Boxing. How's it going on with your Skywalker?
Hey, pretty good. I'm happy to have Monica on the show. Her sister left me a book in the gym here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, signed it for me. Her father had a lot in common with myself, being a paratrooper and into boxing. I wasn't a boxer like your father, but her father was a champion boxer in the Army. Great book, awesome story. Some tough times back then to get you really thinking about how strong of a fighter this guy was, not just in the ring, but everywhere. In the courtroom, in the battlefield. This guy had a fight his whole life. So, respect to her family. Awesome read. I finished the book today. Actually, I finished it today. Been reading it throughout the week, and I recommend you guys getting it. It's pinned in my chat, steelvictories.com. And thank you, Monica. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh my
Indeed.
gosh, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So, yeah, we appreciate you being here, as a matter of fact. So, Monica C. Smith, folks, first and foremost, thank you for everyone who's going to be listening live with us, as well as those that will be tuning in on the replay. You see the name there, Monica C. Smith. And Skywalker mentioned we want to acquiesce you to steelvictories.com because that's one of the primary reasons we're here today because she wrote a book and it's an excellent book. We've gone through it, and we want to share this story with the rest of individuals that are out there who are fans of just knowing these different stories that are out there of people who've been involved in the sport of boxing in some capacity. So, Monica, it's a pleasure, most certainly, having you here. And hey, thanks for taking the time. And we want to start things out with your book. What decided to get you in the mix of hey telling this story, what is exactly an amazing story of a father-daughter relationship? Where did this spark come from?
Well, actually, God told me to write this book like 7 years ago. And I'm seeing a little bit of a delay with the screen. Are you hearing me all right?
We
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
you well.
Here you go.
Okay, great. All right. Well, about 7 years ago, God told me to write this book. And I started July of 2016. It was summer, and I don't know where you all were living at the time, but I was living in Nashville, and they had record breaking heat. And so I hunkered down for 30 days and literally spit out the first draft in 30 days. And over the course from 2016 until I published in 2024, I would, work on the book for a couple months and I put it down and work on it some more. And then during the pandemic, I just really, really hit it hard and finished it in 2023. And then it took me like a year to publish. So I'm self-published. And, when God calls you and gives you an assignment, you really should answer the phone and, probably do what he's telling you to do, right? And
Right.
so I'm a believer, and every word he either showed me what to write or told me what to write. And so what I love about the book is it's like such a beautiful capture of my family, my life. It's a period piece. People that were born, I was born in the early 70s. So friends and family that were born during that time, they really appreciated me taking them back to the music and the dancing and, what it was like and the dressing. And I just had a ball sort of like going back down memory lane, thinking about my years as a little girl at 5 years old on the swing set and being a flower girl and then being in high school. And but the main driving force that kept me on my computer typing this book was God. It was an assignment. I'm glad I finished the assignment. I pray he's saying job well done. And the way I wrote it, because I'm getting a lot of compliments on the style, And
Mhm.
I decided to just write it like I speak. And I felt like with me being a first time author, that would be an easier way for me to stay consistent with the tone and the energy of the book instead of me trying to make up some character because then you've got to like stay true to the character. So that was actually awesome that I would write things and then I was like, should I say this? Shouldn't I? And I was like, well, yeah, that's how you speak. So that was a pretty easy decision. So I just, literally wrote the book like I speak. It's like you're sitting down having a conversation with me.
Man, Josh, and Skywalker, man, thanks for bringing her to our attention, man. I'm gonna tell you, Monica, God's definitely speaking through you. I promise you. I was 5 minutes into your book, and your story was a familiar one that would tell people who are not from here what a Black American culture actually really is.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you for speaking from that perspective. And I want to start this thing off really by asking you if you could maybe describe um, the types of meals, the types of preparations that you would do as a child in order to have dinner, and the types of things that went on at the dinner table. Could you possibly start us off like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, back then, a lot of families, the mother and the dad were there, and you had dinner at the kitchen table. Obviously, there weren't any iPhones or iPads or distractions. So you sat down with your siblings and you sat down with your parents. And, every meal was at our infamous kitchen table, which I also talk about in the book of when the dating section, when the boys would come to the house and my dad would like interrogate them until they were terrified and ran away. But it was home cooked meals. We did not eat out a lot, which is such a drastic change from today. You've got fast food, you've got fast casual. I mean, you've got all these different categories now that you really didn't have, to the extent back then. But most of the meals were home cooked. Um, you were supposed to clean your plate. I did not like vegetables, so it was always a battle. And many times I won, and I would just sit there and just not eat. And so my parents eventually caught on and would make me eat certain things. But it was a very structured, home and upbringing. And, everyone had birthday cake, and you got to get the first slice of cake if you were the birthday person. And there were six of us in the home, five girls, six siblings, six children, five girls and one boy. But then I also have three other siblings that my dad had, so he had a total of nine children. But in our home there were five girls, one boy. So imagine a man who's like this championship boxer who ends up with five girls. I mean, it's just the humor of it all. I mean, God must have been like, I'm going to show you, And to make it even more intense for him, the boy came at number five, which
Mm.
I mean, he waited all that time for a boy because he wanted boxers. So then they had another son, they had another child because they were thinking, okay, now we're on the road, we're gonna have boys now. It was a girl, and my dad was like, wow. And so my mom was pretty much like, all right, I'm done. Factory is closed, and this is it. You got six kids, and be happy with it. But we're all very close, and I just text a bunch of them today. Hey, I'm going to be on live, on this
Mhm.
podcast, and they're really excited. But it. I don't know about you all, but I can't believe the changes that we've seen in the family structure in society in just my lifetime. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm really floored at it. I mean, when you look at the size of families, it was so normal to have six kids. That's unheard of today. I mean, we're not talking like that big of a different distance in time. My mother, let's see, there were six of them. My dad, it was six of them. And today, I mean, you're lucky if you see someone with two children. That the one child household is just very common. prevalent today. It was a
Oh yeah.
party. I mean, I love the fact that my parents had that sibling. Something that I say and I put in the book in the very beginning of the book, the dedications. I say that the biggest gift that my parents gave me were my siblings, and I really mean that to the bottom of my heart. And big families are like amazing. I really wish they would come back, but I know part of it is the expense, right? You know, that's why people are having smaller families. But there's no way I could tell this story without including some of my partners in crime, and that's my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. No, yeah, that's pretty amazing right there, and I'm actually from my mother, she has five other siblings. The youngest was my uncle, and then the rest were her sisters. So that's pretty funny. And also, ironically, where we're at this particular stage in the sport of boxing here on both the pro and amateur side, actively, there are a lot more women, girls getting recognition in a way that hasn't been seen up until this point, and they're headlining major events. And I
Right.
think that is an amazing thing and a very good thing as far as pushing the sport forward. So we have even more women involved. And they've always been involved in different capacities here, just thinking about it from the background. But even myself doing some officiating, things of that nature, I've learned bulk of the things that I've learned in the sport from women who are involved in the sport,
Mm-hmm.
some who've grown up in the sport. Shout out to Candy Jacobs. She had a great relationship with her father. She's keeping that up, keeping that going. And she actually came to mind when I was reading your story as well, from her involvement in boxing and so forth. So I think that is an amazing thing. So your father, he was on point in there, getting you learning early. I mean, you mentioned the
Yeah.
shadow
I
boxing and
hear he
all
was
that
always
stuff.
throwing jabs at you in the book. He's always throwing his 1-2s at you in the book.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of you all did listen to the audiobook, right?
I read the book.
Yes.
I
Which
didn't do
one
the
of you did
audio.
the
I think
audiobook?
me and Ernest, we both listened to audio.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you heard the when I'm giving the like
Yeah.
boxing noises.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, in the
Yeah.
audio, it was like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just picturing
audio
it though. Your dad messing with you all the time, throwing always like throwing punches. You said so. That's
I
pretty
mean,
cool. That's something I do to my kids all the time.
But no, that's
that,
amazing. And for
I
folks
mean,
that don't know,
I
yeah,
grew
on the
up.
audiobook, it is actually narrated by Monica and her sister.
Oh wow.
I thought that was pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, my sister did. I think I was trying to think. She did the chapter where I don't want to give too much away, but um, when the couple was fighting,
Yep.
remember
Ooh.
that scene where the couple was fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a
she
pretty
did a
crazy one
couple
right
of
there.
chapters in that section. So, what did you all think of that section? The
Pretty
husband and
Oh, I
crazy
wife.
love it.
story.
What was
Pretty
that?
crazy.
Is that the one with the husband and wife that came over for dinner
Yep.
and they didn't side they didn't want to get your dad's back in the class action?
Yeah,
Turncoat.
Some shady stuff.
Turncoat,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
it's called turncoat.
turncoats.
Yeah, it's called turncoats in the book. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
some shady stuff right there.
yeah. And that's
Since
like
we're
a
on it,
true.
we can talk about it. Yeah.
and the name of the book, Picasso, it's pinned in my chat,
Yeah,
brother,
that's
and it's also
actually
on the
true.
screen. Steelvictories.com. You guys can get it on audio book too as well. It's on Amazon.
So what I wanna ask you about as far as the story about the turncoats, can you maybe explain um can you maybe explain how COINTELPRO infiltrated our neighborhoods and our movements and some of the things they did? And is that something similar that your dad sort of kind of went through with these the class action sabotaging?
You said how who
So
infiltrated the neighborhoods?
COINTELPRO. So things like when the Black Panthers was out and they were, they were getting meals and things like that for the neighborhoods and getting free lunches and just doing those little things. Like there was a time when some of these people that were involved in the government would infiltrate and actually cause harm to the groups, right? So I saw the story about your dad getting someone actually going in and um, trying to sabotage the case because
Yes.
someone was, maybe they paid him to do it. You know, maybe they didn't want your dad to get an enormous settlement, so they need to get somebody that looked like him to go and sabotage. Could you maybe explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I don't want to give too much away, but the book is victories for a reason. There are three categories that I'm when I so one of the categories is victory on the battlefield. My dad was veteran. Another victory category is in the boxing ring. And then
Right.
a third category, which you don't really know about until you get in the book, and I did that intentionally, is his battle in the courtroom. So something happened that was very tragic and life threatening. And my dad decided to fight back and to sue this huge multinational corporation. And he was trying to help others and launched a class action lawsuit, even though some of his family told him don't do it. But his concern was trying to help others. And this is a tall tale that I think a lot of us can probably say we've experienced, because I know I have.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to help everyone else, right? And then here comes a backstabber. Here comes someone that is, what is that? What was that one story where I think it's Greek, the Greek story where they actually sent a boat and all the enemy was in the boat. What's the word I'm trying to think of?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Is
I,
it,
Trojan.
you
I
guys know
know
the story I'm
Right.
talking about?
I know Othello
Othello.
had a similar story.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Othello had a similar story
So
where
they were having
Henry.
a battle. Okay, I'm going to finish. So it's a battle where the enemy sent them supposedly a gift, and it was a boat. But in the
Mm-hmm.
boat was a bunch of troops, and then they overtook them. And I'm losing, not thinking of the word at the moment.
Oh, that was a Trojan story.
But the point I make is that always really a shame is you have people who, yes, the Trojan horse. Yes,
Yeah,
that's what
that's
I'm trying
It
to
went
say.
right
But
inside.
worse. Yeah.
yeah. So unfortunately, you have people who are the leaders, who are the trailblazers, who are the fighters, right? They're fearless and they're focused on the enemy. But unfortunately, always someone on the side who's with actually a double agent or who never had the intent to really see the person succeed. They're just waiting there looking for an opening to take them out so the leader doesn't succeed. So leaders not only have to watch the front, their enemy, but they have to watch their back too. You got to have 360-degree vision. So here my dad is fighting a mill, and little did he know that the very people that he was trying to help that were he didn't have to try to help them. He didn't have to do a class action lawsuit. He could have just fought his own lawsuit, right? They ended up turning on him and being double. So again, that is a life
Mm-hmm.
lesson that everyone needs to learn. And the sooner you learn it, I've learned it the hard way, unfortunately. But the sooner you learn it, the better and smoother your life will be because there are always Judases in the camp.
Oh yes. No, that's very much the case, and I think you did a good job of highlighting that. And for those that want to know more on the story, of course, read the book there, steelvictories.com. in relation to that particular story and instance. Steelvictories.com, that will give you a glimpse into everything where you can purchase and additional things that Monica has done surrounding the book and other ventures there. So we're here again for those just tuning in with Monica C. Smith, and visit steelvictories.com for her story. And it is one that details the relationship between herself, her father, her family, and ultimately a fight from three different perspectives. In that regard, your father there being a veteran of the army, actually having fought in Vietnam, and where the boxing connection comes in, he was actually an all army champion. Could you tell us a little bit about your father and kind of that experience there in learning about not only just what he was dealing with as far as tied to the steel company, but hearing some of those stories of his time when he was actually serving in the army, I'd imagine Vietnam, and then from a boxing perspective, because there are a lot of analogies and connections between the sport and your father and some of the things that he taught you and your other siblings as well, as you all grew up.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
So I wanted you to introduce
I'm getting
the.
a little blinking on my head. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I know there is a slight delay, but I wanted you to introduce the
Yeah.
listeners to your father and his story as far as his time in the army and his experience there in boxing and how that translated as far as some of those analogies and references that you make throughout the book as far as his time there.
You know, what's amazing to me is boxing and chess. I feel like they're two things that really prepare you for the battles of life. Um, my dad, and there are things I learned in doing this book and researching and speaking to people while doing some research that just, blew my mind. And there's something that I put in the book that I'll say for a book specifically about my father, because he's a whole book in himself. And this to me was just like a taste test. And there's no way I would want to. I already told my siblings that there's no way I would want to take on the project of writing a book just about my father. It's too vast, and it would require input from people. But he started boxing because he was a butt kid. The school at the time that was majority Caucasian, and it would, but he was getting, the area was, at that time a very area. My dad was short, and he was a small dude, and he was getting chased home every day and getting his butt kicked by racist white boys. And what you know, when I say, I won't just say white, I'll say racist white, because clearly every white person isn't racist, right? So I always like to say racist white. Okay, so you'll hear me say that when I speak about racism. He was getting chased home, getting beat up bad every single day. And one day he decided he had enough. So he decided to fight back. It's amazing what trauma, where it can push you, right? And where storms can push you into what's really your destiny. Not only did he fight back, but he became incredible. He was fierce. And what I'm told by family members is that once he really started boxing and getting into matches, that most of his fights were won by knockout. So he did the boxing thing. He was winning. Contest. I saw an article where he was in Chicago, like in some regional contest, even though he was from Chicago, Indiana. And what really just made me pause and brought me to tears, honestly. I mean, there were multiple times while I was researching and things I didn't know that brought me to tears was my dad was going to, for the second time in a row, a boxing championship meet. And then the next day, he was leaving for boot camp for Vietnam, for the war. And I just thought, how tragic to be a senior in high school. I mean, I think about when I was a senior in high school, I was just a kid. And I can imagine someone graduating high school and then, bam, all of a sudden they're in some foreign land, fighting an enemy. And so, yeah, I mean, that really cut his career short. I mean, he got yanked out of his life to go fight in a war. And boxing is what saved him. And I say that in the book. I say, saved by boxing because he was boxing, he knew he boxed wherever he went. He was there and he was beating up his comrades and boxing and everything. But they knew he was a really good boxer. So they pulled him out of the trenches. This is what I was told by a family member that my dad told him. And they pulled him out of the trenches. They were like, you know what? We're going to send you back to the States. We want you to box. So he goes back and then fights in the boxing championship. So it's really that skill that really saved him. And I just think about, like, he literally was fighting for his life on two fronts. He's in Vietnam, paratrooper getting dropped behind enemy lines. And as you guys know, a lot of the things those guys did, they weren't public. They did a lot of covert missions. And so he's fighting for his life there, and then he's boxing, and that helped him get out of the fight. And then he comes back to the States and fights. And then after the mill, after getting out of the army, then he goes to the mill, and he's fighting there again. So this is a man that just had to fight his whole life. But I respect him for that because I never heard him complain. My entire childhood, I never heard this man complain. How is that possible for someone to wake up every morning with a sword in their hand and ready to fight every single day? I mean, it just blows my mind. And the older I get, the more I admire it. And my uncle tells me that I'm like my dad a lot, and I am very. I mean, that's like a huge compliment. So I love when I'm told that. But you know, I just have that DNA in me that you got a choice. You can be a victim or you can be a fighter, and I choose to be a fighter.
Right.
Hey, there's this narrative that's floating around that black fathers aren't in their children's lives and things like that. Could you maybe explain to the audience the what sort of impact your father had on you, developing it, going from a child into developing into an adult and making it through college? Could you maybe explain um, the impact that your father had on you?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't like that narrative. And that's one of the driving forces with why I'm excited God chose this assignment for me. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to write about Black fathers. There's a lot of Black fathers out there that are doing incredible things, that are very supportive of their children and their families. And unfortunately, the media, sometimes isn't always portraying that. But there are a lot of them out there. I know them. They're in my family. I've got friends. And I know a ton of them that are there with their children and raising their children. I say that, but we also know there's some unfortunate systemic family have fight to be a Black family, because there are a lot of headwinds and forces that are out there that are trying to prevent that. However, there are many of us families, Black families, that have prevailed. And the way I look at it is, and this is the way my dad raised me. I mean, we're in America. America has freedom. has racism. I'm not going to change that. So I have to be flexible and know how to navigate it. And I think there are a lot of us in the black community that just understand that it's just a fact of life. So you can cry about it, or you can do your best to to fight it. And for me, my foundation is God and my belief in God. And racism is idolism. It's people who want to be idolized, which is the Ten Commandment, which you should not idolize anyone, and you should not want to be idolized. So it's something that I'm not going to do because it's against my belief and the way I was raised. But especially in Black families, we really need the fathers there. And my dad knew that. He knew what we were going to face. And that's why he set out to do everything he could to make sure that we were armed with the proper tools and resources that we need. But yeah, I mean there are plenty of Black dads out there that are with their children and tell their children to be responsible. So I look at, again, my inner circle, my outer circle, and I see them. So when I see the negative things that are portrayed in the media, I mean, I know what the truth is. So and I'm blessed by writing this book and waving the dad flag. And I'm going to tell you, when I have events, I have dads stand up and I read the acknowledgement section to them. In that section, there's a letter to daddies. It's called Dear Daddies. And I've done that multiple times in my book signings. And what really gives me joy when I'm at book signings and start talking to a father, and I've had white fathers buy the book too. I've had Latino fathers buy the book. But when they hear that I'm championing for them, it's amazing. There's one man, I was at Barnes and Noble in Orland Park, and I read him the acknowledgement section, the Dear Daddy's letter. He got on one knee and grabbed my hand and put his head down and went to me and said, thank you. And because he felt seen and he felt heard. And it's moments like that where I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I'm on this mission. This is so Monica. This is so me. And but yeah, I mean, dads are extremely important. I wouldn't be in my career where I am today if it weren't for my dad. I needed both. I needed a mother and I needed a father. And yeah, so cheers to all the dads out there. The train back.
Yeah. I know we've been touching on your dad, but shout out to your mother. There's a section in the book about your mother. She was a very hardworking lady, and she always made time to put a meal on that dinner table you brought up. And I think that's what's missing in America, is the family bond and I think that's what made you successful and getting a good education and it's a great upbringing. Your father, even though he went through hell, he still provided and made it a better life for you girls, so and for you kids.
Were you able to pick that up, Monica?
Skywalker, you might want to say that again.
Yeah, could you repeat
Monica.
that?
Oh yes, Monica. No, I said shout out to your mother in the book. There's a section on your mother as well, and she was a hardworking lady and always made time to make a meal for you guys, and that's what's missing in America is family bonding, and I think that's what made you all successful and getting an education and having a better life than what your parents had. They made it possible for you kids, so it's awesome to see a good upbringing, and even though times were tough and there was racial discrimination back then and everything that happened, your father was missing his leg, and it's a it's a great book, teach you about a good family support system, get you far.
Yeah. As I was writing it, I thought about how when I was coming up, how you had so many family shows, and it was just very common. And they were so wholesome, and you didn't really have physical scenes like you do today. Just such a more pure time. I feel like as children, you were able to hold on innocent longer than you can today, especially like with social media. Social media has its pros and cons. I mean, obviously we're on it now, right? We couldn't do this if we didn't have social media. But I just really feel parents. I think it's harder in some cases for parents today than it was. I think economically it might not be as hard today because you have more people, you have a larger percentage of people with degrees, and therefore the salaries are higher today if you like 50 years ago, right? You've got more white collar workers today than you did 50 years ago, more blue collar, more labor people. Like, my dad worked in the mill. Now you got a lot of people that are working the office life, right? But I do think there's some things that were easier back then than compared to today. And, I look at the struggles that parents are going through with the dark side of social media with their children. Social media is raising kids in some cases. And the kids are spending more time on social media than they are, even with their own parents. But I am very grateful that my mom and dad had they were extremely involved. You couldn't even breathe wrong without them, knowing about it. And they were, I mean, they were fierce. They were fierce. I mean, nothing got by them at all. And I appreciate that. You couldn't slip. And like I said in the book, they never took a day off, you know? There was never like, oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to reprimand Monica because she looked at me funny, or she slammed the door. I mean, there were zero passes. I mean, and and I attribute that to the way that the person that I became. So my mom was just as strong as my dad, and you just had that beautiful balance, two parents that were loving and kind, very attentive, very, making sure that the whole child was raised properly. We were eating right. We were going to school. We were treating our neighbors properly. We had the right friends. I mean, and I don't mean just, I talk about dating in the book, how my dad was, very much, strict with that. But I mean, even with friends, female friends,
Yeah.
they were very involved, So I appreciate looking back, thinking, wow, they had kids, and we got a lot of attention, a lot of time, and we all of my siblings can honestly say that we all got the attention of both of our parents in every area of our lives.
Man, I wanted to ask you, the brown sugar question. When did you fall in love with hip hop? But I want to do it a little different. I want to know when you actually fell in love with music, because it seems like music plays a vital role. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
There's that section with Reggie in high school where, and you're
Hey,
talking about hip hop.
don't tell, Skywalker.
Yeah, but I like that section in the book about your high school days with Reggie because I'm a b-boy myself. I can break dance. I could share some videos on
Yeah.
here. I could spin on my head.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I'm
right.
a old school break dancer from the I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'm a lot younger. I'm 42, but I was when breakdancing resurged, I was in a breaking crew and I was real good when I was a teenager. And I still got the moves. It's like riding a bike.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never lose it. You never lose it. And I'm looking at one of the comments, Gray Fox. She says she has 7 kids. Awesome. I love it. I'm telling you, it's the best thing because when I'm having problems, I got 5 people to choose from that I could talk to. And each one of my siblings is a different personality. So if I want like the tough love, like give it to me straight. Like I'm gonna have to recuperate from 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 her being straightforward, and direct. I've got a sister for that. Then I've got the sister if I want someone to just agree with everything I'm saying, I know who to call for that. And yeah, so it's really awesome. So good for you, Gray Fox with the 7 kids. And I have a friend who she's the only child, and she said something to her mom that I was like, wow, I didn't think about that because I'm not only child, but she told her mother that she will never be an aunt. And her mother was like, I never thought about that. And so I have that I know that just had a baby at 40, and she's not sure she's going to have another. And I said, I told her this story, and she just paused and stared at me like, she hadn't thought about that. So I can honestly say that I will single-handedly be responsible for her having at least another child. I'm sure she's going to have two. But yeah, it was definitely a party. But music was a huge part of our upbringing. And our basement life, the spot to the point where two sisters throw house parties. You remember the movie like House? Well, we actually, I didn't put this in the book. I thought about it and I was like, okay, I just need to. I was going off on so many tangents that my editors, my first editor was a New York Times best-selling editor, and she cut out a lot of stuff out of my book. And because she was just like, you're over here, you're over there. But that's how I speak. If you know me, I'm having 5 different conversations at one time. And my friends know that and they can keep up with it. But when you're writing it, it really is, it's a bit much. So she, put that, didn't put that section in there. But we grew up in a household that loved to dance. And my 2 older sisters threw house parties. They had it 2 years in a row, and we would get people from all over the city. They were lined up. I mean, the parties were lit. In our basement, we had 2 different sections. We had one side that had a waterfall, um, and then it had kind of like this paisley, like wallpaper, orangish wallpaper. It was the 70s and 80s after all. And then we had a bar on that side. And then on the other side was black and white tile floor with the pool table, and then the infamous chess table, which we definitely need to speak about in this podcast. So one side was like leisure, chill, record player, 8-track tapes. My dad had an incredible album collection, and then on the other side was playtime. And so when you went downstairs, you had options, and it was good. And all of my siblings, we all had to dance. So we would spend days putting music on, just like killing it. And we party together. I'm from East Chicago, Indiana, and so there's a city next to us called Hammond, Indiana, and they had a club called Club Soda. And that was a club that was for people like in their teens, and they had no alcohol. But this was when house music was just coming out, and it was just absolutely incredible. So my sister Dara's on. Dara, hey. She's the sister that I collaborated with on the soundtrack for the book. Which yes, there's a soundtrack for the book, and it's called Symphony from Heaven. And you can find it on the website, but it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon, it's on Spotify, and it's a mirror reflection of the book. So it's got Latin in there, it's got house, I do some beatboxing in the song too, got jazz as well, and then it's got all these cool little sound effects. I'll give one away. I'll just give one, but there are other sound effects in there too that are really good. So I talk about apples a lot in the book. We actually have a sound effect of someone biting an apple in the song, and it works. It does. You're gonna be like, oh snap, that was tight with the kid. So it's good. But yeah, dancing was huge. I have a sister that sings, sounds just like Anita Baker. She used to sing to me all the time. I'd be like, Mom, you can sing for me. So very musical family. Yeah. So for me to beatboxing wasn't totally, it was kind of in the same groove, because I was already grooving. So it made a lot of sense.
Can we get a beatbox, Monica? And I'll bust out my breakdancing video. Here we go.
Okay, you go first.
All right, go
So
ahead.
I do
Go ahead, Josh. If you get beatbox,
All right.
and that's on my IG.
there you go.
Oh my gosh. Is he actually doing it?
Yeah, a little quick work right there.
Look at Skywalker.
You
Yeah,
can't hear the
man.
beat.
Yeah, you don't want to put that
He's all
song
the
on.
brakes.
Yeah.
All right.
Get it.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. All right. I'm gonna give you a little taste. I think I should start charging for my beatboxing. What do you guys think? What do you think? Maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I was told I shouldn't cover my, back in the day you always cover my mouth with sound effects. But someone
Yeah.
said, don't do that so people can see you're actually doing it. So, all
What?
right. Mm, 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 mm. I'm thinking of what I'm going to do if I'm going to go old school or new school. Um, so this is my thing. Once
Awesome.
I still got it. Hey. So this is my thing. So beatboxing has obviously evolved clearly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Was it pretty clear? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
great.
yes.
It was
It was good
awesome.
to go.
Yeah.
Was it pretty clear?
Yeah,
That's talent right there.
that is.
Okay, good.
Shout out to Remy. That's one of my veteran brothers.
So
right there.
this is what. So so beatboxing has come. Let's see what are you saying in the comments. I hope you guys loved it. It's a little taste. Maybe I'll do something a little bit later too. So beatboxing has evolved. So right when I started doing it, it's like around the time it first came out. More basic beats, and today you got like the beats and all this other stuff, and there's a lot of tricks and things like that, which is awesome. My style in 2016, and I say this in the book, all of a sudden one day I just started scatting and beatboxing for some reason. I don't know why. So I have a lot of beats saved in my phone where I'm scatting and beatboxing. And if you go to my Instagram page, I have 2 beatboxing videos on there, and I'm scatting and beatboxing.
Your
But
YouTube channel
what I
your YouTube
decided,
channel has some
my
too.
style is I like bass. What?
Oh, we need to put her YouTube channel out there. She has some beatboxing in her YouTube channel. Can you share your YouTube channel? You sent it to me earlier. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah. I need I need to spend more time. I'm always watching YouTube to up to more videos. I've got 2 videos, the same videos. They're on YouTube. They're also on Instagram too. But what I decided is, and it's called Monica's Life Beat. Isn't that such a good name? I really like that name.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Heartbeat, Get It Life Beat. And I'm beatboxing, so it's a beat. Yeah, so I decided that I'm gonna do beats that my style isn't like a whole lot of tricks. I love jazz, so I'm doing a lot of jazzy stuff now. I did a performance at Poetic Jazz last October, and I was like, this is perfect because it mixes poetry and jazz. And I read poetry from and some jazz beatboxing, so it was a great stir. The audience was like, yes, yes, and amen. But I really love beats that have a groove to them. So um, that's really important to me. I've got beats I can do. I got beats I just want to bob my head to, and if I'm feeling the vibe, sometimes a beat will just drop in my head, and I'll stop what I'm doing and record it on the phone, and then I'll blast it on my car radio, and I'll just be like, man, that is sick. Like that is really cold, Monica. I'm complimenting myself, and then I'll put it on a loop, and then I'll just be like driving around, looping to some jamming to the beat real good. And I was on Clubhouse. Everybody was on Clubhouse during the pandemic, and I did a lot there. This really well-known DJ, and he was like, "Man, that beat is," and I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes I just drop them like that. But it's hilarious to me that I have this gift, but it's also very satisfying because literally I am my own beat machine. And then being a dancer too, I mean, I'm like in heaven. I love it.
I don't know if you can share that on your end, 86, but Monica has a YouTube channel, and that's her beatboxing. I put it in my chat on Skywalker Boxing. I don't know if you can share it. I'll send it to you, Josh.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a poet named Saul Williams. He did a song. He did a spoken word over a beatbox track, and it was crazy. I'm gonna make sure I tag you in that. Saul Williams is a cold poet. Let me tell you, he is a cold poet. But since we talked about music,
I love that.
Because we talked about the music, like I felt like when I was reading or when I was listening to the the audio book, I felt like I felt a different type of energy being expressed towards the person who showed you off a little bit on the dance floor. Could you maybe elaborate on some of those New York on 2 type dance styles?
Whew. Yeah. One of the reasons I moved to New York was because the Mambo on 2 in New York is known around the world. It's fierce, it's fast, it's furious, it's unforgiving. And I first saw it when I lived in Chicago, and I went to a Chicago Salsa Congress. And they have these salsa congregates all over the world. And I saw them doing it, and I said, what in the world is that? I mean, it is lightning fast, and they dance in such a small square. Like it's not big movements, and they're spinning you all over, LA style, salsa on 1, you're like all over the floor, or you're dip, all that. And that was the style I learned when I first moved out. And then this Mambo on 2 really just start blazing a trail across the world. And I was like, I gotta learn that. It's very complicated, very hard. So I had to unlearn, and this is the problem. And I tell people this now, if they're gonna learn salsa, I'm like, learn the New York style, learn Mambo on 2. Because I learned on 1. And so what it is you're dancing on a different beat. Okay. And not just you're dancing on a different beat, but it's a different style, it's faster. The New York style has a lot of what we call shine, which is basically your freestyling. And so just imagine if you want to mix the funky chicken in there, you can do that with that style because there's a lot of space for you to just mix in your own impromptu, vibe to it. And so what was difficult for me is I'm a good dancer, right? So I learned the Chicago, I learned the on 1 style, but then I had to unlearn that to learn the on 2 because you're literally on different beats. And that was very difficult. Very hard, but I mastered it. So now I can do both. And, but New York it was tough because if you didn't dance on that on 2 beat, people just didn't want to dance with you. And they would be dancing with you and be disgusted. I mean, they wouldn't even hide their expression. I mean, it's like, they'd be looking at you like, I cannot wait for this dance to be over. I mean, it was just like, oh gosh, she doesn't dance on 2. So initially I didn't do it. I was like, I can't do it, you know. And then I got fed up, and I just said, you know what? I love to dance. I got to figure this out. So I took some lessons, and got on too, got on the right beat, and then that was all she wrote. You know, at that point, I was getting a lot of guys asking me to dance, and it was a good time. But yeah, they could care less. It doesn't matter if you're pretty. You could be gorgeous, you know, most gorgeous woman on the planet in New York. If you can't dance on two, you will be standing on the sidelines the whole night. They could care less what you look like. I mean, obviously, you know, if you're attractive, that helps, right? But we're all attractive in God's eyes. But yeah, in New York, you gotta know how to dance on the mambo, the salsa on too, or you'll be sitting down the whole night. So, but now I can do it. So it's all good. So
And Monica,
challenge
in the book we talked about your career. You're in commercial real estate, and you're a director. You be making big deals on big properties. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you got into that, to the audience, and what you do for a living?
Yeah, so I was in college. I went to Purdue University. I went to the Hammond branch, which had a ton of folks from Chicago went to that one. It's in Northwest Indiana. The main campus is in Lafayette, Indiana. Same curriculum, just different locations. So I went there and I started out as a communication major and then changed to business. Thank God I did that. That business degree it just keeps on giving. Like I'm honestly could not have written a book to the degree that I did because I self-published, by the way, if I didn't have this business degree. I mean, the business degree has just been priceless in my life. And so anyway, I was in school and needed a job, and I answered a job board, and I go and I had no idea what I couldn't believe what this job was. So I started out basically within a mall called Woodmar Mall in Hammond, Indiana, and smaller shopping center. And I go there for the interview, and they're like, "Yeah, you'll be leasing space here and negotiating deals." And I'm like, "What?" I mean, I never even knew that existed, right? And I say this in the book how most of us go to the mall, we're shopping at different stores, and we don't stop to think that, hey, someone actually negotiated this deal here. Someone actually put this Hollister Abercrombie Fitch deal here. Someone negotiated this Starbucks deal, right? So that's the industry that I'm in. I'm that person that either works, I've worked for shopping centers and I've leased space to retailers, and I've also worked for retailers where I'm negotiating with shopping centers to go into their mall or go into their store or whatever. So I actually got the job. I got in the industry because of a job board at Purdue. And I did it for a year or two and I loved it. And I said, man, this is what I want to do with my life. And I've been doing it ever since. And so it's commercial real estate, and I've got experience doing office deals. I have experience doing shopping center deals. I've experienced doing industrial space, like warehouse space. And then I've also done land deals as well. And I actually I like to say I speak three languages. I have experience on the tenant or retailer side, tenant side, the landlord side of the business, and then I'm also a licensed broker as well. And so yeah, I've been doing this since college. I love it. And chess got me here. I mean, they're very complex deals. Some of these deals can take you 2 years, and it's poker and chess all rolled into one. And that those chess games I used to play with my dad, really helped my critical thinking skills for sure. So, and just knowing how to, you know, um, chess is a battle. So is commercial real estate. You know, and I say this in the book. It starts commercial real estate. Deals start off a tango and then end up as a waltz at the end, right? But but I love it. The field is tough. It's challenging. It's complex. If you like instant gratification, commercial real estate is not for you. Residential, you go show a couple homes. You may have someone buy the 10th home. Commercial real estate, like I said, I have deals I worked on for 2 years, and I'm doing it with calmness and peace. I'm not sitting like this is taking forever. I mean, of course, you wanted to go longer. You want to go shorter rather, but we all know in commercial real estate, it's a long game. Some
Yeah.
deals take a year, some take 2 years. Like you got to stay calm and just know that.
Right. I want to make a message out there. There's a guy in the chat that has a lot in common with your father. He's a Marine war veteran that was wounded in Iraq. I won't mention his name. If he wants to mention it on here, he's in the chat. He's a paraplegic. He got shot, and so he
Oh,
kind of, what I mean, dealt with, similar. He's dealing with, having to be in a wheelchair, after the war and stuff like that. So, I mean, with your father, he got hurt in a crane accident after the military, but he had went to war and kind of suffering the same kind of, I bet your father, dealt with the same kind of problems that he's been dealing with, since he's been out to service. So I just want to encourage him to read the book. His name's he's in there. I don't know if he wants me to shout him out, but, but yeah.
yeah. You know what? I usually don't go into too much detail with that because I want people to read the book. But yeah, let's dive in. So, my father, after the army, he went to work at the mill, and he saw the way that blacks were being treated unfairly, and it was life threatening. It's still a dangerous place, but it was a lot more dangerous in the 60s. I think I say this in the book. I think OSHA came along in the 70s. So you just had, excuse me, you had a lot of black men that were, you know, boxed in with doing really, really dangerous jobs at the mill. And my dad worked in the blast furnace, which, you know, very dangerous place to work. And so anyway, he didn't appreciate the fact that the blacks seemed to be getting all the harder jobs and the ones that were dangerous. So he spoke up, and they didn't like it. So one day they went to my dad and they said, "Hey, Butch, do you want to ride the crane?" And he was shocked because black men didn't get to ride the crane. That was considered a higher level, job back then. So he gets in the crane, starts it up, and it blows up. And they were trying to kill him. Um, did succeed, but he lost his leg above the knee. And he was only 20. He just got back from Vietnam. He was only 21 years old. And so he goes from being this championship boxer, really losing fights, knocking out guys twice his size, makes it through Vietnam in one piece, comes back whole man, and then loses 3/4 of his leg at a job. I mean, I don't even want to imagine. Wasn't born yet. But I saw some pictures while I was doing this book that I hadn't seen before. And one picture is of him. I think it must have been pretty recent that it had happened. And he's sitting on a couch with his crutches off to the side, and you just see his face, just very upset and sad. And I'm sure that's obviously why he was sad. By the time I came along, he had already. It'd been some time. I don't know, maybe 8 years or so since he had lost his leg. And so, you know, he was in pain a lot, but I never heard him complain like these people did this to me and so what I would say, and what I would say to the person in the comments, first of all, I commend you for getting out of bed every morning. And one thing I say in the book is that the people who have disabilities are really the people that should be doing all the TED Talks because I don't know what my dad was saying to himself every day to get out of bed every day, to raise 6 kids every day, to not complain, to push through the pain. He still went to work at that job with a wooden leg. And people didn't even know that he was missing a leg. The way he walked and talked and carried himself. So what I would say to you, sir, is if I may, if I'm not overstepping, and I don't know you, but I can tell you what my dad did, and he just kept fighting the fight. He refused to let his circumstances dictate his future. And I can imagine him saying to himself that they took the leg, but they're not going to take anything else. And so he decided to live his life like he had to. He may have done other things too, but the beautiful thing is he was still living, he was still breathing, he could still have conversations, he could still see his children, grow up to be adults. And there is, I mean, look at this. We're on a podcast because of my dad. I'm sure my dad did not know that what he went through would be in a book one day. And because of what he went through, it shaped who I am today. So I wish he didn't go through that. I know it was very painful, but there's so many people who've had tragic stories, and it ends up being a blessing to other people around them or other generations. It's like amazing. So I take my hat off to you, sir, and to those people who have disabilities, and I'm just in awe at the resilience. I don't know where they find that resilience, that to dig deep and to keep going and to keep living and to keep thriving and to keep and deciding that they're going to still have joy in their life. So
You have the answer.
I say bravo. There
You
might not be
100% have the answer. We've heard. I heard you say it plenty of times. You definitely have the answer. Isn't there some what? God is good, right?
All the time.
God.
Right? God is good all the time, right?
Yes, it went out for a second. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is definitely God. And I think
Oh yeah.
as hard as it is, that we know people like that. There are other people that have stories where they went through tough times and they ended up being an inspiration to a nation or a generation, you know, or, you know, I don't talk about my mom often, but she passed of what's really common today. My sisters chime in. Um, and her passing, the way she passed, changed my life. So I chose a path of health, um, of being healthy. If you see my bookshelf, I love books. I have a huge section on health books, and so when you see these tragic things happen, you say, well, what can I learn from that, so I don't have to go through that. She did nothing wrong. It just happened, right? But you say, what can I learn from that? And what came from her passing is completely changed the way I live my life. And I shared my knowledge with other people, including my siblings. So, yeah, God is good. But she used to say that in that few book. She used to say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's I hear it in my I hear now. I hear her. God is good. God is good. God is good. And as a little kid, you're just doing your own thing, minding your business. And then as you get older, those things, they just kind of come out of your subconscious and blossom. And there's a friend on here now. Allegra, are you still there?
Yeah, she's been in the chat. Ligra.
So after she read my book, she's now in. Okay, yeah. Yeah, she's a chatty Kathy. Yeah, we love her. We love you, Allegra. So she said after reading the book, she now ends every conversation with God is good. And and so I told her, I said, well, you got to tell the other person to say all the time. And so she's like, yes, okay, yeah. So she's gonna do that. So it's pretty awesome. So let me ask you all a question. Each one of you, tell me what your favorite section of the book was, or favorite quote, or favorite story, or favorite chapter. Don't all speak at once. Who wants to go first?
I
Yeah.
kind of told you earlier. I like the high school section with Reggie and the
Oh, the
beatboxing.
beatbox.
Just growing up in that era, it brings you back as a reader. That it just brings you back into that old school. I'm into hip hop, so I grew up on the border. I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I was in the military, and I was stationed in Oklahoma, Georgia, North Carolina, and then I spent a lot of time overseas. We all went overseas to Iraq, Afghanistan. I went to Korea. Ernest went to Korea. So we spent a lot of time like with different cultures and experiencing different faiths of people. So I'm always open minded. So your book, I don't know. It brought. I'm from a Mexican family. I grew up Mexican on the border. My dad's white, but I didn't grow up with my father. I grew up with my mother, my grandfather, going back and forth to Mexico as a kid. He was heavy into. He was a boxer. My uncle was a two-time world champion that gets spoken about till this day. His legacy lives strong, kind of like your father. What you're doing with this book, they made documentaries on my uncle, and he was a legend. He fought all the best fighters in the 80s and the 70s. He got his first title in 1974, and so this is like you're like my mother's generation. So it's kind of cool. It's like my grandparents was like your father. That's my grandfather's. My grandfather was born in 1918 though. He was a little bit old. He was older, but I don't know. I just like
Oh,
a tight family. I just love your family story the most. And when I got the book, I was given this book in the gym. One of the coaches told me that a lady dropped off a book, and then your sister reached out to me on social media, and I was interested, but I thought the book was going to be about Vietnam. I was thinking the book's going to be about him fighting, more based on that. But I got more out of the book, and I really enjoyed it. I like reading it. I read the book pretty fast. I got the book on Monday, and I finished it today. But I was almost finished with it. I killed a good section on Friday. I read a lot of it on Friday too. So a lot of it's still in my head, and
yeah,
it's awesome. It's like I know
you
everything
guys
about
weren't
you.
messing around.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know everything about you in this book. It's cool. I respect how your family brought you up. Respect to them. And then during hard times, I'm a lot. I grew up as a minority, believe it or not, because I'm white skinned. I grew up in the border of Mexico. I grew up back and forth in Mexico and El Paso. I'm a white Mexican. So as a kid, I always got picked on because I stole all the girls because I had the green eyes and the fair skin. Oh man, I always had a bunch of essays trying to fight me, but but I grew up that style too. I dressed up Dickies. I
Oh
played
my
sports,
God.
ball. I wasn't good at boxing. I couldn't continue the family. But I was too damn tall. I'm really tall. I'm 6'4", and I just was always kind of awkward with boxing.
My
Now that I'm
God.
yeah, but now that I'm out the military, I work with heights. That's why the name Skywalker. You can see me hanging off of skyscrapers. I'm a professional climber from the military. So and then I translate that to window cleaning. And so I hang off of ropes for a living as a high rise window cleaner. So I do all that dangerous. I have to share with you some of my scary videos. I usually scare all my followers, but I'm usually in the air for work, and then lately I've been doing more residential though. I've been trying to calm it down. I'm getting old, so but that's a little bit about myself, and I'm just happy that you came on and shared with us some more. You guys got to buy the book though. She gave you guys a lot of the book, but you guys got to read the book. There's so much more. There's poems in the book. There's letters, like you said, to your father. It's a really good book, guys. You guys should make a documentary out of it, Monica. And then shout out to um, Allegra in the chat, she says she's making a play. So that's going to be awesome. Kind of put that into play.
Hey, Josh, you wanna answer?
Yeah, I'm
You want me
turning
to
the
go?
book.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I can go. Yeah, and then you can go ahead. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It reminded me of a number of things that are tied back to my upbringing as well. So I sent it to my um, mother, of course, my aunt, and they may be tuning in right now on YouTube or whatever. The section contextually speaking that I could tie to boxing was, of course, that I was thinking about was hearing your father's story there of fighting in the army and becoming an all army champion. The note of him having met Muhammad Ali, also having passed up on a chance to fight for the Olympics. So that's pretty amazing stuff right there. And those are opportunities that everyone doesn't get and they don't come across them. So I think that's a noble, and that showed that there was a dedication of family there. That he passed up on that opportunity because he wanted to focus on family and providing things of that nature. So it was good hearing that story as well as some of the others there that were tied to just kind of his thought process, some of the things that he went through. And I know you contextualize some of his experience there in Vietnam. And I'd imagine that call of them wanting him to join the Army boxing team, that had to be pretty special right there, just thinking about it, because that shows that he was able to be a standout at 5'6", 150 pounds or somewhere in that range right there. Just think about what he was able to do and accomplish from that perspective. So that shows you that he had a major heart right there, and that takes you a long way when you think about it from the sport of boxing right there. So I think those stories surrounding such were definitely key points and highlights there.
All right. Well. My part. With my favorite part of the book. I'm gonna
To
tell
me, he
you.
was tall, right? Because I was a little girl. But when I was doing,
I think there was a slight delay,
go
but
ahead.
you can go ahead, Monica.
I'm also.
Oh, sure. Did you
I'm
want to?
listening. Your favorite part of the book?
Oh, okay. So I gotta be honest with the audience here. Listen, I went through her book 2 times. I did it once by myself, and then I did it once with my wife. I spent a lot of time with Monica and her voice and her sister's voice in the book, and it just I feel like she's an older sister of mine. I feel like her story, my story, they're very relatable. This is the culture
So
of Black America.
Mhm.
But if we got to be real about it, my favorite part of her books is the way that she uses scripture and Bible verses to
Mhm.
support the thing that makes everything stick together, right? So when I was in Iraq, my father is actually listening right now as well. He's Ernest Johnson Sr. or Jr. I'm the third, by the way, but he's listening as well. And when I was in Iraq, I had prayer. I wore Psalms 91 bandana under my Kevlar. I've been in 5, 6 IED explosions. I got injured over there. There was things that I went through mentally, and I felt like she was telling my story in a way, and I could relate to it. And when I got out of the military, you know, dealing with all the things that I was dealing with, I went and got a biomedical engineering degree, and I entered into an industry of imaging, medical imaging industry, where Black people aren't prevalent at all. And the experiences that I went through, I went through them with a type of vigor, like, yo, I will not be defeated. I'm here to make an impact, and that's what I'm gonna do, right? So I
Mhm.
felt like I just connected with you, your story, your family story, and it's God speaking through you. And it touched me in a way, it touched Josh in a different way, it touched Skywalker in a different way. And I think that anybody who's going to read your book or listen to it and feel the energy and the love that was put into it, they're going to take something from it. They're going to have a better understanding of culture. They're going to know that, damn, there's people out there that can go through some stuff and never lose faith and get it done. There are not a lot of people out there. People give up and quit every day. You know what I'm saying? And I just, like I said, I have so many questions I want to ask you. I want
Mhm.
to understand how you're surviving in a male dominated industry that you're in with cutthroats and snakes. I want to understand more about the 2008 collapse because
Mhm.
I was in Afghanistan in 2008 when you guys went through that. I don't know what was going on in America. I have no idea. And there's just so much I want to know. But honestly, listen, I'm telling you
It was
guys,
a bloodbath over here. It was a bloodbath over here.
Uh,
yeah,
Oh,
only imagine.
yeah, I wasn't aware I
boy.
was.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I just you that it's difficult for me to pick a favorite part, but if I had to pick a favorite part, it would be the scriptures and the way that it supported your story and how it just makes everything stick together.
That's beautiful. Um, yeah, did you read the introduction?
All of it.
Yes. Yes.
You did? Okay. All
All of
right.
it.
Because you can see in the introduction, I talk about my dilemma with how to do the scriptures.
Oh yeah.
And I knew I wanted scriptures in the book. I appreciate you, you acknowledging that. Um,
Hmm.
and as I said in the introduction, I finished reading the Bible like during the pandemic. And um, I was like, this book is chock full of power. I mean, of course, we know that, right? But God says, word will not come back void, right? So the word is living, breathing, is basically like putting it in order. Um, I mean, to know that there's power in speaking, and He's giving you literally scriptures and blueprints and what to say depending on the situation. I mean, I'm like, guys, we've got the playbook right here. God has given it to us. So when I'm having a situation, I'll Google what does the Bible say about X, and then I'll take that scripture and I'll get out loud, thank God in Jesus' name, and I'll move on with my life because I know that prayer was heard and it's going to be answered. God hears me, and as long as, of course, it aligns with His word and His will, right? So I knew that there would be people reading the book that are not yet believers, um, and I just thought, man, I got to give people a taste of this Bible. It is dripping with anointing and power, and I've used so many scriptures throughout my life. I've seen things happen instant, supernatural things happen. I've seen prayers answered for me, for other people. I've prayed for instantaneously, not instantaneous, but it does happen. And I've seen things that are just absolutely amazing. And so the Bible is powerful and so potent and so real. And what a gift to be given such a thing to help us navigate this treacherous world that we're in. But yeah, I enjoy putting the scriptures in there. And then I was debating, okay, should I italicize them? Should I put them in brackets? You know,
Hmm.
I wanted them to be everything. But one scripture I definitely wanted in there was the scripture about gifts, how we all have gifts. And I was like, why aren't we told this when we're younger? I mean, God did not just drop us here on the planet and say, all right, good luck. Hope you make it. No, He gave us not just everyone has spiritual gifts, right? So when they have the gift of healing or prophecy or whatever, but not whatever, but He's given us all gifts, spiritual gifts, but He's also given us, I call them money making gifts. He knows you have to survive. He knows you have to make. So me, I know one of my gifts is writing. I didn't know that until I started writing this book. I was in honors English in high school, so I knew I was a pretty decent writer. But when I start writing the book and seeing it come together, I'm like, okay, this is definitely a real gift that he's given me. I also have a gift of negotiating. Somebody else may be one of my sisters. One of her gifts is cooking. She's amazing, and so God has given us all. Someone may be an excellent speaker. Someone God may have given them the gift of being good with hair, a hairstylist, and we need the hairstylist and the barbers, right? So I just think it's so important that people are aligned with the spiritual gifts and the other gifts that God has given them, because their life will be so much more richer. And you've got so many, how many people do you know that are in corporate jobs or in jobs that they absolutely hate? And it's like, you're probably not in the lane that God wanted you in. I know without a doubt I'm supposed to be, God wanted me in commercial real estate. I love commercial. I wake up excited to go to work. I mean, I talk about commercial real estate all the time. My friends can tell you 50% of the calls gonna be commercial real estate. And they're just used to it. I love it, and so that's one thing I'm hoping that people walk away with in reading the book, is that you things at birth be in your job. Stop and find out what your gifts are and move in that direction.
And you have to be using those gifts in the manner that they was intended to be used. Like
Well,
some
yeah.
people get the gift of gab, right? And they be over there using the gab to do a whole lot of stuff they don't need to be doing. Right? You're supposed to be using gab to influence people to do things better.
You're right.
You know. So I
Yeah.
mean, I got
That's
the
true.
gift of cracking jokes. So,
The
sometimes
gifts
I
are for
feel
my
like I
Christ.
gotta go
You're supposed to use it the way
DTA
God. You're right,
on some
because you have
people.
people.
Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. The entire story. Yeah. There, Monica. Yeah. Just is amazing. Just thinking about it, and yeah, I think, yeah, as Ernest had noted, there are so many tidbits that you gain from the book. So many other sort of offspring stories that we could dive into. It could be a series in its own, just diving into some of the offspring stories. And doing this, I feel like it was fate. I had this sitting beside me. It was this is from my Uncle Lenny, who, I don't know if he's listening, but my aunt that I was mentioning, she may be listening. But when he first became a pastor, he gave me a few of his early scriptures that or not just scriptures, but sermons that he had written. And it's just a little bit earlier today. I haven't seen them in years, but I was looking for something in our little cellar area, and it popped up, and I was like, "Oh my, maybe it's fate." So I had to mention this while I was on here. So shout out to Uncle Lenny there, but I think it speaks the power of faith there and what it can do. And if you maintain that, hey, the sky's the limit, as they say.
Yeah, we could have
Absolutely.
took this
Another
interview a
scripture I
whole
talk
bunch of different ways. We could have took this bit because, like, I feel like if we had a jumped into
Yeah.
the talking about how feminism and
Oh yeah.
some women are saying they don't need a man in their life and all those type of things, I feel like we could have really went sideways with that
Oh yeah.
because you know the family unit needs to be repaired. The village needs to be repaired. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and the whole village is supposed to participate. Hey, listen, I know when I did something bad as a kid, or if I rode my bike on the street I wasn't supposed to be on,
Oh
somebody
yeah.
called my grandmama, and by the time I got home, like, where was you at? And I bet not lie. You feel me?
Yeah.
I
No
better
doubt
be
about it.
telling the truth. You know. Uh, I want to ask you one other thing, because I mean, obviously, Pops had hands, and what no leg gonna stop him from teaching his daughters how to use them. Have you or your siblings ever had to run down on somebody because they decided to get a little aggressive?
Oh, I know there's a story in the
Well,
book.
yeah, yeah. There's one of my siblings. My dad really taught her how to box, and I mean, like really taught her how to box. So there's a story where this boy was met her and she beat him up. So done. Um, and then I have another sister. A boy was messing with her, and she ended up beating him with, I think, her umbrella or something like that. But you know, I agree with you. This could go in another direction. And one thing that it could go in multiple directions. But one thing I want to make sure that I remember to say in every conversation, and I've been begging my male friends. I have a friend that's a boxer, and after I wrote the book, I was like, "Did you teach your daughters how to box?" And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "You should swing at them, like so they can know how to duck." He's like, "I'm not swinging at my daughters. What are you talking?" And I'm like you don't understand. So then I told him my story, and he could not get off the phone fast enough. He's like, "Monica, I'm gonna get off, and I'm gonna go right now, and I'm gonna start teaching them." And he got off the phone with me, and that's what he did. And men spend so much time teaching their sons, but my dad knew that women get in fights. A man could Men beat women, right? And so what I really appreciate my dad doing, what he did, think about this for a second. By doing that, swinging at me, that was him letting me know, that was me learning that this is not okay for someone to swing at me, that I'm supposed to duck, I'm supposed to swing back. So that was instilled in me very young. And unfortunately, you have women that deal with abuse, and the first time they get hit, they're so shocked by it. They don't even know. It's like out of their realm of it was something they even thought happened to them. So some just accept it and think, okay, this is how it's going to be. Others, just kind of crumble. They don't know how to respond. But what I love about what my dad did is he introduced the violence, and at least it came from him and not the streets. And he did it in a way, it wasn't abuse. He never hit me. He just swung at me. And initially, I just winced. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, will not stop swinging. And I say this in the book that eventually I'm like, this dude's not. So I would finally, one day I just put up my dukes. Thought that was enough. And it wasn't. Still kept swinging back. So I started swinging back, like act like I'm on a swing or something. And then that wasn't enough either. And then I started talking smack. And it was that combination that he finally would stop swinging. So when you would come at me, I knew at that point I was okay, no, you don't want none of this. Start punching. And he was like, laugh and do a little jab. Be done. But I'm telling you, I watched this man, even though he had part of one of his legs missing, I saw him do some of the smoothest footwork you can imagine. And he managed to do that with one and one quarter leg. And to this day, I can still do, how boxers kind of dance around the ring, around their opponent, going sideways. Like I can do that because I watched my dad do it my whole life. And
take them for a walk.
Yeah.
And nowadays, these little girls, they beat up all the boys.
Oh, is that what it's called? Yeah.
I got a daughter. She spars with nothing but boys or girls that are like way older than her. She's on a different level.
Yeah, Pops told you to take them for a walk. When you take them for a walk, they have to reset.
Girls, women's boxing.
I love that term. I didn't know that's what that meant.
Skywalker, you saying something?
I just was telling her. I said, women's boxing's evolved a lot. I mean, we got a lot of girls that can beat up dudes.
Oh yeah.
Your daughter. Tell her about your daughter.
I'm so
yeah, that's what I was telling her. Yeah, my daughter, she spars nothing but boys. She don't really spar girls. Or if it's a girl, it has to be like a teenager. She's 10.
How is she?
but she's been training for 3 years, so she's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
How old
our
is she?
channel has a great deal of respect for women's boxers. We actually was probably one of the first channels that brought women on during, Women's History Month and exposed the knowledge and the skill that they have, all the way from refereeing to being the boxer themselves, or even the trainer like Gloria, right? Like there are some amazing women that impact the sport. Matter of fact, I
Mhm.
understand the sport partially because of my father, because he taught me how to throw hands. But my grandmother watched wrestling, not wrestling, but wrestling every day. And my other grandmother was
Oh
into
my
boxing.
God.
So
Oh yeah.
that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I think boxing was, did you guys, 60s, 70s, 80s? It was like the golden age.
I didn't hear.
Pardon, could you repeat that, Monica?
I said I feel like the golden age of boxing was like 60s, 70s, 80s.
Well,
What do you
certainly,
guys think?
certainly that's one of them. I think
Yeah.
there have been, yeah, I think there are a number of them out there. I like the 1920s and prior, to be honest with you. But I think the 20s, that was certainly the Roaring 20s was a golden era as well. But yeah, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they rank amongst them. There's a bit of taste for all that are involved, most certainly. So I think that's the beauty of it. Hey, we're seeing a resurgence even now. Yeah, I think you see them periodically over the course of different decades.
Yeah. Does your
I
sister
mean,
train, Monica?
the
Does Dara train?
20s was more akin to street fighting, more so, would you say?
I was
That
Did she
asking
train? No.
if she trains in New Mexico because I know I
No,
got the
but
book.
he
Book and I'm fighting.
really, the one sister, the one sister I'm speaking of, he literally, like, he poured a lot into her. And I mean, she could probably write a boxing book, a how to, because he really poured. Like I got a little bit of some moves, but he literally, like, he was she would fight just not fair. Like our cousins would come over and he'd be like, boxing. They didn't want to box her because she was like fierce and strong too. So I mean, he literally like opened his boxing book with this one sibling, and she was she was going toe. She was really something else, and I mean, she was only fighting boys, So, but yeah, I think I don't know, but back to the thing I was saying is when I speak to fathers, I'm like, I really think it's important that you have, again, if you're not gonna like teach your daughter how to box, get her comfortable with just knowing to run, get out of the way. Like it's just so important, for women to have that, for girls to have that. What am I doing? Am I running? Am I am I, because unfortunately they get in a situation and it's, you know, as you know, with most fights and wars,
Mhm.
price tag usually dictates who wins, right? And so if you have it, if it's innate, if it's in you, um, to automatically respond a certain way and to be on guard, where you don't even have to think about it. Like I talk about in the book, when someone tried to assault me, I mean, I immediately
Mhm.
ducked because I was used to ducking for my dad, and there was no time to think. I didn't have time to be like, this guy is swinging at me. I mean, I didn't even realize what was going on, and my body was already ducking. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think even a general entry level of teaching girls to defend themselves. That it's a possibility that you could get swung at or hit, could go, could go a long way. But yeah, I'm happy to see more. I'm looking at it more from a protection standpoint, not necessarily the sport per se, but every woman that I see that's boxing, I'm like, that's woman not get her kicked, or who knows how to stand up for herself. I was on social media and I was watching people on social media, and they're teaching their daughters how to about, and I mean, they're like legit boxers, and one is like 12. I think the other one's like 10, and I mean gloves on, and they're going in, they're going head and cheeks, and it is so good to see. Um, I'm just elated to see, you know, the girls getting out there and themselves. I'm here for it.
Well, there's if you look on, I believe it's Instagram or YouTube, there's this black father that has this little girl. She is a monster jujitsu, and she's out there and she's taking on guys, and she's choking them out, she's making them tap out. The little boys be going crying, she's doing all type of damage to them. So the MMA is a whole other thing, man, and women are actually probably a little better than dudes at them because their hips dislocate. So I'm gonna put you in an arm triangle or a triangle, and you be asleep and you can't do nothing about it because she got your legs locked up. So definitely, women are definitely getting into MMA. Shout out to Ronda Rousey for that, even though I don't like her, but she definitely put MMA on the map for women. And I'm glad she did that because being able to defend yourself and protect yourself is of the utmost importance. And that's called muscle memory, what you did.
Yeah. Hey, and shout out to Gina
Yeah,
Carreno who came
but
before.
look at like shout out to you. Well, I gotta say, it's really nice speaking to the gentleman that similar background to my dad. I'm really comfortable around boxing and boxers. I'm not around them often, but I'm comfortable in that world because I grew up with it. And the military side of my dad, he was in the military, but I didn't find out he was in Vietnam. Um, I think you should. I think you should get the. I do.
Oh yeah.
I do. Should. You see his comment?
Oh yeah.
I think you should get the book. Yeah. So let me tell you about the cover. We haven't covered that yet. We haven't covered the cover yet.
Oh yeah.
So I knew I wanted something unique, and I knew that I wanted something that would make people not want to buy the Kindle version, but actually buy. Hint, hint. I wanted people to want to actually have have the hardcover or paperback because I love books. And the thought that I need electricity to read a book, I need something to be charged. Nothing against iPad or Kindles, nothing against that, they're good. But me personally, I want to touch and feel. I want to lay on the beach, open the book.
Mm-hmm.
There's an energy with touching a book. I love my bookshelf. It's front and center in my home. And I said, I'm competing with audiobook, which I have audiobook too, and I have paperback, hardcover, and ebook. But I'm competing with audio, I'm competing with ebook, I'm competing um, audio and ebook. What can I do to force people to buy books? And I said, and I have a marketing degree for Purdue. I said, I'm going to have an outstanding cover. And I wanted to have an painting. And so the cover of the book is a one of a kind paint guy who's out of Miami, does really big media. And he did me a favor of a friend, and he actually did this painting for me. So what we see on the cover is the 1963 boxing, what we believe is the boxing championship. My dad winning that fight for the championship. you also see Dad and I playing chess. All of my siblings had to play chess with my dad. He never let you win because why would he let you win when the world isn't going to just hand you a trophy, right? So he played to win and he won every single time. And that's how you need to play life. So it's me playing Chad, of course. And then the picture, the real picture of the 1963 boxing fight on the wall. And that's based on life. He walked in on the one side with the pool table. There were all these of him match. Guys were laid out on the mat and his arm was up. And then you had the pool table and you had the chest. So there are people who are starting to collect the book. They think it might be worth something because it's, a painting of this famous artist. So just know that you're getting that when you actually buy the book. You're getting a piece of art and a piece of history of this beautiful black and white photo. So that is the history of the cover.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and that is one of the standouts. I noted that. And you mentioned it. You shout out the artist in the front section of the book as well there. So I think, yeah, that's a beautiful piece. And I think it's one of those where you can get more, or you can get the audio and the hardcover. That's what I ended up doing. Sort of what Remy mentioned there. I think you'll enjoy both because with the audio, you get to hear Monica and her sister speaking on it. And then, of course, once I get my hard copies, once they arrive, then I look forward to actually going through those and as well as getting them signed by you there, Monica, if I run into you here in the area or who knows where.
Yeah, they say sharing is caring,
I
but
didn't catch that
you
last
can't share
part.
audio version.
Oh, I was saying I look forward to
You
getting
can't share
my
all your what?
hardcover signed. I look forward to getting my hardcover signed once I run into you, whether it's here in the area you're doing the signing or somewhere else.
Oh, sorry, I said sharing is
Yeah,
caring.
I'm sure I'll be coming back to DC then. So bring it to Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I'll bring it to Atlanta if I'm coming down that way at any point. Certainly.
You know me to Atlanta.
That last
Well, I'm
bit, Jack.
turning the book into a mini play.
Okay.
I said I'm turning the book into a short play.
Mm.
And the first performance will be March. It'll be in Atlanta. So I'm working through the details right now.
March in Atlanta.
But the book there's so much content in there that's perfect for a play. I mean, there's rapping, singing, dancing, poetry. There, there's a lot in there. So I really made, yeah, pretty excited. Pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean,
excited about it. And sometimes I just love to see their faces. They come up to me because they're looking at me and they're like, okay, what did she write? I'm going to order. And when I tell them it's actually about them, they just pause. They're like, and they're just so elated. It's like someone is actually writing about us. Mothers are phenomenal. We need our mothers too, right? I'm waving the flag, or you got to give more credit to the dad. And interesting is God has been sending more people that are actually writing fathers. And I love it. So I'm going to have their books too. But yeah, it feels good. It feels good to contribute. That this will be part of my legacy, and that is upholding and honoring dads. So, are you, Skywalker? You have children.
I have two.
And how many daughters do you have? You want me to ask?
I have one daughter. She's 10, and then I have a son that's 13.
Okay, so your daughter is 2. Okay. All right. So, are you going to teach her any other fight forms, or will it?
She's taken wrestling before too, my daughter. I when they were younger, I kind of put them in boxing, and they wanted to do their own thing, but they came back to boxing. But my daughter, she can wrestle pretty good. She was in
Okay.
wrestling. My son plays basketball, football. He's pretty athletic. So I got them involved in sports. I help coach kids at night, every night, at a gym here in Albuquerque, Duke City Underdogs. I got a lot of kids that I work with every night. So uh, yeah, just trying to keep the kids off out of trouble and involved in sports around good people. So that's what I'm always doing amateur stuff for the kids. I do media for them as well. I do media on the professional level. I've worked for Showtime. I've worked for PBC. I've worked for Top Rank. Worked for a lot of big networks. Same thing with 86 and Papi Choon Yayo. We were starting to make moves. Been doing it for quite a long time. We've interviewed a lot of world champions on this show. We've interviewed a lot of prospects coming up. We've interviewed amateurs, you name it. We've interviewed coaches to these champions. Um, we've had quite a few guests, huh? We
That's
got we got
right.
we got a big library full of people we've interviewed in the past, and 86 Josh is always known to do authors. He gets a lot of boxing authors on his show. He has Mark Allen Baker. He's a really good author for boxing and has him on the show. And he actually mentions Josh in all his books, right? In the forward, right? You're telling me, or the acknowledgement.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shout out to Mark Allen Baker there. Uh, yeah, these are more autobiographies, kind of, or a biography or a bio style it, literature that is geared towards some of the stories of these boxers that kind of dives into their overall careers and such. So yeah, shout out to Mark. You're continually working on some things out there.
Yep. And I have a couple of buddies who write books, poetry books. I have a buddy who's he's an actual publisher. So they're down in Florida. And you know what we do in the sport and in general is we want to impact it in a positive way. We do our best to make sure we can try to attract sponsorship opportunities to some of these young boxers to help them get off the street. Here in the
Mhm.
Hampton, Newport News area of Virginia, you got a guy that Jerry Forrest. He's a former heavyweight. He's a heavyweight boxer. And he's champion level status. And we're out here making sure the kids have something to do. We just want to impact. We want to make an impact in a positive way, and that's what we do. Occasionally, we get off track and have to cook somebody and take the belt off.
Yeah.
But it's all in love for the sport because it's competition and it's healthy competition is good for you. But that's what we
Yeah.
do.
Mhm.
And Josh too. You guys don't know how many hours these referees are on their feet working fights. Tell them about you working nationals and how much work's involved with refereeing, Josh.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, just a lot of stuff that is out there from a boxing perspective. I think at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where you put in a lot of time, volunteerism, I guess you can say, especially on the amateur side. You're not doing it for funding or anything of that nature. You're doing it to help elevate these kids and see them get to where they need to get to. So I do some amateur officiating. I'm a part of a board here in DC, so all of the boxing that is sanctioned out of this area, at least DC, and then Prince George's and Montgomery County here in Maryland, they're sanctioned through Potomac Valley Association. So shout out to them. Shout out to Potomac Valley, our president, Latasha, etc. there. But we have a lot of individuals in the area. This is a big area for boxing here, just the DMV in general. So yeah, there's a lot of hours, a lot of time put in, but at the end of the day, you're paying it forward in some sense. So
Yeah.
uh, we just like to see these athletes, these young individuals, just in general, continue to proceed down that right direction.
Well, I think it's wonderful what you all are doing, and I really appreciate you having me on. Um, the new authors, we need the attention, and I appreciate you all using your platform to help promote my book and helping me to honor my dad's story. So I commend you for that, and I'm forever grateful for that as well. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? And you have a lot of successful authors out there that they had their first book, and this is what it's about. You got to get the word out, and I know it's a good story, and I'm proud of it, and proud to be the representative in my family to be the one to put it out there, and but I could tell you all really have a deep-rooted, genuine concern that the communities that you're in, that the young people are, that they excel. And I just think that's really beautiful that you're actually out there doing the work. And I can tell it's genuine. You're not trying to get, you don't have any agendas or any ulterior motives or anything like that. Like you really care. And I really feel like I know that God aligned us. And I'm elated how quickly this all came together, and how easy it came together. And that's when you know God's hand is on it. So I just appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that took time out of their Sunday evening to hear my story. And I plan to stay in touch with each of you and follow you in any way, anything that I can do, contributions or whatever I can do to be, help what you all are doing, the missions that you're on. I'm all here for it. We all have to help each other out.
Well, yes, indeed. No, and we appreciate you, taking the time, giving us 2 hours of your time as well with that
This
in
is my
mind.
virtual
And
hug time. Thank you.
well, yeah, no problem. No, thank you. And hey, this isn't the end of the road right here. So, hey, we'll look at other ways in which we can connect and continue to share this story as we continue to grow the platform. So, we definitely appreciate you taking that time. We appreciate the book. We want to shout out steelvictories.com because you go there and you can get all the information you need on this amazing book here, Monica C. Smith. So do your part here, folks, if you haven't, and check it out. She's even rocking the gear. There's merch on the site, all of that stuff there. So we're going to be supporting there, Monica. And as mentioned, hey, more to come for sure.
Have no fear. You can do anything.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, with that, we also want to thank all of the other guests that came by as well. To
That's one of the biggest messages in the book. You can do anything.
oh
It's a
yes,
great
indeed.
conversation. Thank you, Rianne.
Yep. Thanks all in the comments as well. So hey,
Yeah, thank you
stay
guys.
tuned for more for sure.
Buy the book. It's a great book. Support Monica.
Indeed. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks.